Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. It's actually not intended for anyone. I will not be held liable for anything that is said during the stream. There's Jenny. Hello.
Hi.
So, we are live on YouTube just so some people could be in the side chat. Just to let you know, this is not a private stream. Yeah, and we lost Jenny already. She'll be back. So, anyway, I have some food. Hi.
How do you do?
Is your connection unstable?
No, my fingers are clumsy.
Okay.
Mm.
So yeah, we've got Clara Microraptor and Greg Hartwick in the side chat with us. And we are live on YouTube, just so you know that this is not private.
Oh, we're live. Why are we live?
Mostly because I figured there would be some people who would want to just kibitz in the side chat and not join in.
Ooh.
You know, like Greg does not get into streams. Sorry. There still is the private chat if there are some things that you wanted to type but didn't really want
No,
everyone to hear.
no. I don't want to do that much typing. Not a chance.
Oh, you know, I appreciate all of you just being here. I don't know why tonight was being so horrible for me. Oh,
Orla.
Doc Fearsome and Orla.
Orla,
Hello.
baby.
Well, heck, at this rate, we're going to have as much of an audience as we do from all my scheduled ones. Oh, yeah, I don't know why my... You know, it seems like everything that I was really anxious about was earlier in the week. It should all be over. So I don't know why. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a delayed response that I couldn't allow it to affect me until everything was over. So maybe it's just taken a couple of days to get around to hitting me.
Yeah. I'm surprised we're all awake this early.
Yeah, well, I tried to sleep and it didn't work.
Yeah, I had a couple hours of sleep around 11 to 1.
Mark Caesar. Hi.
Yeah, I did about the same from 11 to 1, and then I just laid in the dark for 2 hours listening to music, thinking I should fall asleep again, and it never happened, so I gave up. And just to let people know, I am violating my normal rule about drinking when I'm running the stream this time, because I fucking need the whiskey tonight.
Don't worry about it.
Although,
I don't think anybody here cares.
this is actually my first drink all night, so I'm not likely to get out of control here.
It always sounds, as I drink very, very little. I never have any booze in the house. If I want some, I have to go buy it, and so I just buy little small bottles and stuff. But it just sounds weird when somebody says, I know they're at home and they're saying, "Oh, I'm having a drink." It's like, what? Don't you go out to a bar to do that? Or it's just weird.
I usually drink at home.
Yeah, I prefer to drink at home. I don't like drinking in public. You know, I mean, if I get totally plastered at home, the worst thing that happens is I pass out in my recliner while YouTube is playing random videos.
Hey, Mark Caesar's asking for an update on Diana.
Last I heard, she managed to get to New York.
Yeah, from what I understand, she is currently in New York at Amiga's place getting her room ready. But there is still some of her stuff that they have to go back for one more run.
That figures.
Yep. Orla said something there about autism delayed processing. Is that common with people with autism? I know it's something I've always experienced that, when a crisis is actually happening, I'm the only one who can hold it together and actually deal with the situation.
I get that as well.
Yeah, but after everything is over, then I completely fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's a autism thing.
Which is really, it's very useful because it means that, while everyone else is panicking, I can administer first aid and drive you to the hospital, and I won't have a problem until they wheel you back into the room.
Though I find anxiety can be the opposite.
Yeah, Clara, I don't know really why my anxiety peaked so much tonight. Guess that goes to with what Orla was saying about the delayed processing. It may be that earlier in the week was some very stressful events for us on Monday and Tuesday, and it may be that it just didn't get around to hitting me until tonight.
Yeah, that's possible.
Hi, Brian Stevens.
Oh, hey, hi. We're getting a good crew here.
Yeah.
Doc Fearsome.
What is
Okay.
everybody doing awake?
Yeah, should I start streaming at 5 o'clock in the morning?
Maybe. What time is it in Australia right now, Mark?
Well, what city in Australia? They've got like five,
Well,
at least
I
five,
suppose
possibly seven
I suppose
times.
the one he's in.
Yep.
Come on, Mark. What time is it? What time is it?
Yeah, Mark, I find with my autism, I actually have trouble experiencing emotions for the most part. It's a fairly rare event for me. And Orla says with ADHD, the extra stimulation of an emergency situation will make you capable of being able to deal with it where the people would be overstimulated. Actually, next month I've got an intake interview with a psychiatrist, and part of that is to get reevaluated for the ADHD, because the last psychologist I had said that I was kind of like below the line and wasn't really ADHD. But the more I talk to the more people who have it, the more convinced I probably do.
Mm. Oh, you just keep trying and see if you squirrel.
Okay, Mark says it's 6:45 in Perth, so he's 13 hours ahead of us.
I got I pretty much exactly the same, except I got AM.
Yep. Well, that's why I'm saying he's 13 hours ahead of us, because I've got 5:46 a.m. So I take it that he's on tomorrow evening. Or no, actually, it's still today evening. But okay, I guess the sun's coming up, so I guess this now qualifies as being Sunday.
Yeah, I see light out there.
Yeah, the sky's blue out my window.
There's no light coming in here though. I told it to go away. So we're gonna have a Twilight Zone dark day.
Well, that's what my bedroom is like all the time, but I'm out in the living room now with the computer.
I'm kind of wondering how I'm going to go about walking Molly. It's supposed to be raining all morning here. It doesn't seem to be raining right now, though. Too early to walk her.
Okay, Brian Stevens, why the fuck would you wake up at 6:30 in the morning? My father used to do that every day. He was up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
You get into a routine, and it just happens. Back in my days at the shop, I would get up at 4:30 every day.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to have coffee and sit out on the back porch and enjoy the birds and the dead quiet of the city.
The only time I can pull that off is on Saturdays, since I got into the habit of waking up for Saturday morning cartoons.
And so, anyways, I just got into this pattern where I would just automatically wake up at 4:30, no alarm, every day. Sunday, Saturday, and Sunday too.
Well,
It took me, geez, about a year or so to break myself of that after I retired.
I actually believe that a big part of the reason I'm so nocturnal and tend to go to sleep at sunrise is because I spent most of my childhood trying to avoid my father.
I've tried to get myself into that habit on the weekdays, but I just can't seem to do it.
Yeah, Mark, I will disagree with you on the self-diagnosis thing because a couple of my major problems, especially the Tourette's and the autism, I had been seeing therapists and psychiatrists for years who never detected it because they were only seeing me for at most 45 minutes a week. And when you grow up without it being diagnosed, you unconsciously learn to mask most of the symptoms.
Mm.
So if it's not diagnosed by you or by someone you live with, the professionals may never see the symptoms. The Tourette's actually was one thing that was the diagnosis actually had to do with my ex going to a therapy session with me because she made some offhanded remark about my eeps and squeaks. And that was the first indication that this therapist I'd been seeing for 3 years ever had that there was a vocal component to it. And from that, he looked it up and realized that of the 17 criteria for Tourette's syndrome, I was displaying 14 of them.
Hey, did any of you take the time to go and watch that YouTube clip that I posted of All in the Family?
I was making my food, so I hadn't had time to look at it yet.
I didn't notice it.
Well, that was 12 hours ago.
Oh.
Well, you guys got to go watch that. Chat, guys got to go watch that. It's
So I'm gonna have to scroll back
it
up.
was very good. It was one of the really incredible episodes of All in the Family that just blow you away to watch it.
Yeah, All in the Family has a special place for me because I remember watching it as a kid and that my father didn't get it. That he came in one time while we were watching it and Archie Bunker was in the middle of one of his rants. And my dad said, "You listen to this guy, he makes good sense." Brian Stevens, I would be ecstatic if I could get 4 hours every night. If that was a regular thing for me, I think I would do okay.
Maybe if you can repost the link to it, I'll check it out.
Yeah, Mark, usually this is about 6 a.m. for us and the sun's coming up. And for me, this is usually about the time I manage to fall asleep. I have been trying very hard to get myself on a more normal schedule. And the experiment I've been trying the last few days has been like mega dosing on caffeine as early in the daylight hours as possible, with the idea that it should all wear off by about 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening. So by midnight, I should be able to get to sleep. That was the theory. It has yet to work once.
Hey, I was wondering, what would you guys think of me doing watch parties on Discord?
What watching what?
Whatever. I got a bunch of movies I could pull up.
I'd actually thought of doing something like that, but I never figured out how to do it or got a group of people together.
I was just looking it up before we went live. That's why I was mentioning Discord.
If people were up for it, I would be interested in watching Stargate SG-1 with a group.
Well, if I can get work off from the stuff I have on my computer, we'd watch Kelly's Heroes.
That'd be cool. I haven't seen that in at least a decade. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, but it's been a long time since I watched it.
No, I wasn't really planning on watch parties when I was asking everybody what their all-time favorite movie is. Which, by the way, what's yours, Jenny?
Oh, well, one of the films that sticks in my head more than most, honest to God, is a John Wayne film, The Longest Day.
The Longest Day.
I'm aware of it existing, but I've never actually watched it.
1962.
It's a vignette of D-Day. It has a lot of big name actors in it and stuff, but it was pretty well written. You know, it wasn't any kind of a hero show or anything like that, like Lee Marvin kind of shoot 'em ups or anything like that. It was a serious movie.
Yeah.
Another favorite is Failsafe. That's also from Dimster 60s.
1964.
Glenn Ford plays the president, and he's really the main character. Well, the second main character is Larry Hagman. I Dream of Jeannie, Larry Hagman.
Yep.
And he was the Russian interpreter, and it's all about the tension of period of time where some American bombers were jammed by the Russians, and they got a false signal to go bomb Moscow as a result. And so it was all about them trying to get them to return and all that kind of stuff, and you know,
Yeah, sounds good. High
save the
tension.
world. Another one that I watched, a lot of war films. It's interesting.
Yeah, I'm noticing that.
Yeah, Jenny, can I get back to you in a second before you get on another one?
No. Okay.
Well, Mark, as far as the Tourette's, well, when I was younger, of course, I got smacked a lot for it when nobody knew what it was. So I had become very good at not speaking actual words and just random sound effects. I had managed to mask it in that way. So, and Orla was saying about the self-diagnosis, and that was my experience with the autism. That nobody picked up on it, and something had kind of stuck on me from, believe it or not, one of the after-school specials when I was a teenager.
I don't know.
And with the internet available, I finally had a way of looking into it. And I found an online autism test from some university. And when I took the test and I showed the results to everyone who had known me for more than 2 years, the universal response was, "Oh, that explains a lot." So I took it to my therapist, and he referred me to a psychiatrist to confirm it. Okay, go ahead, Jenny. What was the next movie you were on about?
Greg said it was Henry Fonda. Who did I say it was?
I'm so horrible with names. I've already spaced that off because my brain got on different subjects.
Greg will remember. Greg, who did I say it was? Anyways, the other movie that I liked a lot, well, that was just a good, intense thriller kind of movie, was The Bedford Incident. That was just a really good movie. It was intense. The entire movie is just tense. You're just tense as fuck all the way through it. No, I was criticizing Lee Marvin that he has shoot 'em up movies, hero based shoot 'em ups.
I've been pulling all these up on IMDb
Oh, I
as you
see.
mentioned them.
Glenn Ford.
Okay, Greg Hartwick is saying it was Glenn Ford.
Yeah. No, that's what I said. He's reminding me of what I said.
Ah.
Yeah, you're right. It was Fonda. I don't know where Henry or Glenn Ford came from.
Well, you should have remembered that since you're fond of the movie.
Yeah, well, 60 years ago, some things don't necessarily stick anymore.
Yep.
Salient,
I have that
it's always
problem.
salience.
Although sometimes it's only 60 minutes ago that things don't stick.
Or until you go into the next room.
I keep
That is a
trying
real
to
thing.
convince. Yeah, I keep trying to convince Sloth Girl that I have to keep checking with her about her appointments, and that it's nothing to do with her because I can never remember when my own appointments are either. She gets a little irritated when I wind up asking her almost every day when her next appointment is, but it's like if I don't have it written down, I don't remember my own.
Why don't you use
Get a whiteboard and put it on the
machines that you
whiteboard.
have at your fingertips, like your phone? Phone has a calendar program on it. They all do.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn how to use that.
It's pretty easy. Just select the day and put in the time that it is, and it should save.
Well, one of the problems is I just have a big problem with the touchscreen phones. I mean, give me a fucking slider keyboard again, please.
It would be nice.
Well, it seems when I'm trying to type on the keyboard on the touchscreen, I'm never getting the character I want. I'm always getting the character that's like right next to it or right below it.
Yeah, then you just learn the backspace real quick. That's what I do too.
Yeah, well, the backspace winds up being like every third key press for me. Or else
I have written sentences where I have to go back and correct every fucking word in them. So
Yeah.
it's just a phone is just a lousy thing to type on, no matter who you are or what phone you got.
Yep.
How these kids can stand there with two thumbs and just, it's just like, good Lord, I can't do that. I couldn't do that when I was their age.
Well, I do finally have a tablet, and we have a porpoise.
Porpoise, you should change your name from the Sinister Porpoise to the Sinister Orca. Because I hear that they're ganging up and attacking boats and ripping their rudders off and stuff.
Yeah, well, the Sinister Porpoise is the general for the orca. Yeah, actually, I had read that they have actually sunk 3 sailboats.
As the founder of Sink the Rich International, I stand in solidarity with my orca siblings.
I haven't heard of any sinking.
Personally, I fully endorse the orca, but unfortunately, I know how these things always go when any species goes up against humans. And unfortunately, I expect it's going to end in disaster for that pot of orca.
Well, orcas are just a big porpoise. They're in the same family.
Yes, they are. Orcas are just the largest member of the porpoise family.
Well, I don't know. There have been animals that have managed to beat us.
What?
Emus?
Well, yeah, but they were only up against Australians.
Yeah, I don't know if that's...
Jenny, you never heard about the Emu War?
No.
The Australians expended something like 200,000 rounds of ammunition to kill 20 birds. And they kept getting overrun by these mobs of emu. And by the way, mob is officially the correct name for a group of emu. Yeah, the Australian farmers were complaining about it. So the Australians sent a couple of guys with a pickup truck and a machine gun to try and take them out, and it didn't go well for them.
Ow, 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 ow.
Yeah, Brian Stevens, you're right. If we could just tax the rich, they wouldn't have any problem balancing the budget and paying down the federal debt.
Yeah, they should be limited to no more than 500 billion.
I'm not.
Yeah, well, I mean, who could possibly spend over $1 billion in one lifetime? Elon Musk aside for losing all the money on Twitter, but
Well, I'm thinking Jeff Bezos and his what is it, 20 or 30 million dollar yacht. It's 105 feet long.
How about his dick rocket?
Oh yeah, he's got that penis that with rocket motors in it.
okay. Did Bezos ever manage to get his yacht out to sea, or was it still trapped by that bridge?
I don't know.
Because I know he tried to bribe the city to dismantle the bridge, and the mayor absolutely refused to do it because it's a historical landmark. They didn't care how much money he was going to give them.
It's up to the boat to figure their own clearance out. We have the paddle wheels that go up and down the Mississippi here, and they have bridges. And if they had to build the bridges to clear the boat, they'd have to raise the bridge some goddamn 40 feet.
Oh yeah.
So
it was
instead
stupid for them to build the bridge there without checking how high the bridge, or build the boat there without checking how high the bridge would go.
So
It
instead of worrying about that, the boat takes its stacks, exhaust stacks, which is what the height problem was all about, and they put a hinge in them so they can lay down.
It seemed to be easier to dismantle the boat and rebuild it than the bridge.
That's what I was wondering about. Why didn't they just take the stacks off the boat and have a tug push it past the bridge and then put the stacks back on?
Wait,
that
rivers
seems
can be
that
large
would
en-
be, huh?
Rivers can be deep enough to have boats on them,
Well, the Mississippi
or
River
ships,
certainly
not
is.
boats.
Hey, Clara. Always happy to have another dinosaur joining me.
Hello.
Hey,
No, I haven't fixed my computer yet. I don't know how to open the case, and yeah,
You don't know how to open the what?
the case to my computer,
The
so I
gate?
can get the dust out.
Oh, yeah, you need to clean it out.
Oh,
Mark,
Well,
you know,
could either be
lots of rivers are navigable and have bridges that raise, but there's a whole lot of fixed bridges that don't.
Yep.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
thinking of my
most of the-
hometown, Milwaukee, has 125 foot in the air bridge that goes across the harbor.
Yeah, Clara, for if you've got like a desktop or a tower computer, usually on the back edge, you'll find one screw somewhere near the middle that if you take that out, you could usually slide the side panels off.
yeah, or it could just be one of those where it has the latch on it.
or this is another possibility. You have a Best Buy near you.
Who's
I don't
gonna
even know if we have Best Buy here.
Where are you?
get me a computer?
Sweden.
Oh, well then find a PC shop. Ask them if they can clean your computer, and they can do it for you.
Yeah, I should do that. Fine.
Maybe I should beg Diana. I understand she's got like 2 or 3 or 4 of them, something like that.
Or if I were anywhere near Sweden, and I am not, I could do it for you.
Well, Diana is saying that she needs to build a new one, so maybe she would.
She just built one 2 years ago, max.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but maybe she would have an old one that she could give you.
Thanks for the offer to fix it for me. If you live closer, I would love it to. Yeah, I would accept. Thank you.
So, well, I did manage to get my food. The Italian sausage and potatoes. I made the sausage a couple of days ago, but hand cooked it. And
Sounds good.
unfortunately, I was way too liberal with the red pepper because I thought the spice had been sitting around for years and expected it to have lost most of its potency. So this stuff is pretty spicy, even with the potatoes trying to absorb half of it. Although, in retrospect, for the amount of sausage I had, I could have fried up twice as many potatoes. So basically, I'm here for as long as it takes me to eat this, and then I will make another attempt at sleep.
Yeah.
What are you eating?
Homemade Italian sausage and fried potatoes.
Mm.
I just, took us mostly winging it, trying to make Italian sausage from scratch. It's a mix that's basically
Holy
half.
fuck!
Yeah,
News blurb: U.S. Coast Guard offloads over 14,000 pounds of cocaine. Boy, is somebody losing their ass on that deal.
so they
Okay.
confiscate 14,000 pounds and turn in 10,000. Is that how it works?
It might.
Wow, that's quite a load.
What are you up to, Athena? Come on up.
Yeah, I've actually thought for my new computer, I'm seriously considering like making a box to put it in that would have its own fan and give me the ability to, like have a removable furnace filter in it to make sure the air going into it was always filtered and it didn't get so much cat hair and dust in it.
You're going to want a different kind of filter than that. The draw through a furnace filter is much higher than any computer fan setup is going to give you.
Well, no, I just need
enough air.
I would need a stronger fan in there. Yeah.
If you don't want cat,
there's going to be no fan of that type strong enough to suck through a furnace filter.
if you don't want cat hair in anything you own, don't own a cat.
Well, not owning a cat is not an option. And yes, several years ago, while I was still living in Michigan, I wound up getting a new computer because the old one was killed from cat hair.
I
That
did
is
some
what the tech
vacuuming.
told me.
I did some vacuuming yesterday. I figured I'd give it a shot before I took Molly out of the crate from having the bird out. And, yeah, she seemed to actually be better leaving her in the crate, vacuuming, and then letting her out. She seemed calmer that way.
Yeah, Sammy doesn't seem to really be bothered by the regular vacuum cleaner. He hates the shop vac.
Yeah, she. I guess it made it feel like she wasn't going to be chased by the mean thing making noise.
Yeah, well, Sammy just gets up on his tower and he figures he's okay with that. But I'm actually thinking my old computer here that I'm just going to take the sides off the case and I'm going to take it outside with my benchtop blower to start with and just get the bulk of the stuff out that way and then go at it with the regular, canned air stuff. Just to get in the tight spaces. But I figured the benchtop blower would, knock out 90% of the dust.
Well, what you could also do is just take off the side panels and stuff and just throw it in the shower for like 10 minutes. Really hot water, like as hot as you can get it. And that should take care of it, I would think. Solve all your problems.
Okay, a whole
Mark
bunch of new
Caesar, I
ones.
love Simon's cat. Well, actually, Jenny, you say that as a joke, But for the most part, you can rinse off computers in the shower as long as you're sure that all of the moisture is out of them before you plug it in again.
And all
So-
the capacitors are discharged before you put it in.
Well, yes, that too.
Yeah, it's like you can wash your cell phone, but you can't dry it.
And that your
Yeah, but-
clock battery is out.
But yeah, with computers, as long as there's no power or no battery in it, and like Jenny said about the capacitors, that with it unplugged, try to switch it on like 3 or 4 times to make sure the capacitors discharge. And you actually usually can rinse them out. And if you sit them in front of a fan overnight to make sure they're completely dry, they usually work again.
Capacitor discharging is pretty easy. You can just clip an alligator clip to the ground, to the chassis, and have it to the end of a screwdriver or a point, and it all like a ice pick is best because you can get in there, and then you can use that to touch one leg. I would probably the output, the negative leg of any capacitor, and it should discharge it instantly. But the bigger the capacitor, the more dangerous it is to do that.
Yeah, I definitely would not try that for the communication complex for the Galactic Alliance.
The CRT cathode ray tubes are always a fun one.
Yeah, the Ornos the Ornos built a communication device on Earth to try and communicate with the Galactic Alliance, and it requires 2 capacitors, each of which is the size of a small office tower.
So, if you're a member of the Galactic Alliance, which Lion do you drive? All right, no one got that one, but
Well,
all right.
I don't know about lions, but the Ornos disguise themselves as house cats.
I'm
Mage
going with
got
the Black
that one.
Lion. Yeah. Voltron. I used to watch that all the time when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, I used to watch Voltron when I was a teenager. Way back when we only had 5 TV stations before cable existed. It was played on one of the UHF stations in Chicago.
Do not use your tongue to discharge capacitors.
That could be shocking experience.
The guys on YouTube, the slow-mo guys, they did a one of their episodes on blowing up capacitors, giving them too much voltage for their specs and making them explode. It was pretty cool. They explode real good. Yeah, and they're just these little tiny ones, and they blast themselves all over the room. It's really kind of neat.
I'm feeling I want to check that out because I have seen capacitors do that. I wonder what it looks like in slow motion.
Oh, and another one they had that I watched just the other day. They took a couple of those really big neodymium magnets that stick really hard. The kind of magnets that if you have your hand between the magnets when they come together, you might lose your hand. Those kind, and they set up a system so that they could get them slowly together until their magnetic eddy took over and brought them together like that, and filmed it at like 187,000 frames per second. It was pretty neat. Those things really slam into each other. It was very cool.
Yeah, Mark Caesar, I was like 10 years old before my family got a color TV. So, as a teenager, we had the color TV in the living room, but I just had a little portable black and white in my bedroom when I was older. And, that was kind of a privileged thing to actually have a separate TV in my bedroom, but I had got it from a neighbor who was throwing it out.
My parents
it's
got
even a
their first color TV in, I'm pretty sure it was 1971.
Yeah, that was kind of a privileged thing even when I was young. I had a little 10-inch in my... it was a color TV, but I had a little 10-inch TV in my room.
Wow.
Yeah. like I said, I don't quite remember what age I was when we got the color TV. So you're saying 71. Maybe it was like 73. I would have been like 8.
Well, they were real expensive. A whole bunch of people never got a color TV, and for a long time, because they were just fucking expensive as hell. I mean, I think my dad paid like $500 for his color TV in 1971. Okay, that's huge. That's like a half a month's pay.
Yeah, well, and that's I'm sure the one that we got was like secondhand. That my dad bought it off a neighbor when they got a better one.
And just think, about 30 years from now, people will be asking, do you remember dumb TVs?
Yeah.
Of course, I have 2 dumb TVs right here. They're called my monitors.
I've been
You're
enjoying
so
the
dumb they
little new
don't
TV I
even know what
got.
channel they're on.
Well, I posted something about that on Twitter the other day about, do you remember when anything over 20 inches was considered a big screen TV?
No, LCDs are
No,
cheaper. LEDs are cheaper to make.
no, 25,
LCDs
27
was right
inches
the
were
first time.
extremely common.
Sorry, I woke up. I need to get back to sleep at some point.
Yeah, well, we're all hoping that's going to happen maybe in an hour or so.
And the cat is now sitting on top of my tower.
My cat has now fallen asleep
But
again.
yes, I
using
can
my-
understand that the cat would be disappointed since they can't sleep on top of a CRT. But also, aren't CRTs banned in our schools right now? At least in Florida.
Yes.
Okay, no one got that joke.
It took me
Yeah,
a moment.
I want CRTs in every classroom.
Yes, but are you sure the ketchup packages that you get at lunch aren't woke?
There must be something wrong with my headphones.
Yeah.
Have you heard about that? Heard that one? The guy complaining about woke ketchup.
Why is ketchup woke?
I don't know. He's apparently complaining about. It's check everything, make sure it's not woke. Even this ketchup.
I'm just happy Ron DeSantis has ruined his political career on the national stage at this point, and he doesn't realize it.
Yeah, he's really gone down. People really do not like his laugh and his face.
I'm a little disappointed that he did it a little too soon. I wanted him to do it closer to the election so he could just screw up Trump worse.
Yeah.
Trump is going to be the nominee, period.
Yep.
He owns that party.
Well, unless he's convicted of that treason charge.
I wouldn't say assume that. It's legal for him to run, so I don't expect that he won't run. He'll try to be president from prison.
If he gets convicted, he can't run because of a law he signed. Now, I don't think he's going to be convicted, but that's a different issue.
What law did he sign?
It's something about it was in reaction to Hillary's emails and it has to do with classified documents.
Yeah, I know he signed something about that it inflicted a minimum of 10-year prison sentence.
Yeah, well, he did do a classified document bill, but that's not going to keep him from running for president, because you can do it when you're in prison. Eugene V. Debs did it way back when.
Part of the law he signs says if you're convicted of that law, you can't run for political office.
I didn't know that was part of it, but yeah. Yeah, I do remember Y2K, and Y2K proved to be a self-defeating prophecy.
Well, it was never right to begin with.
No. Yeah, Y2K was completely legitimate, but we actually did something proactively for once in human beings' existence.
Not exactly. No, it wasn't really. It wasn't as big of a deal as people made it out to be.
It did cause some random quirks.
It wasn't going to cause planes to fall out of the sky as people were claiming.
Yeah. Well, and because my ex was still so worried about it, I convinced her there was a simple solution. And on New Year's Eve, we just watched Y2K, the New Year's Eve thing from London, so that if planes started falling out of the sky, we had 6 hours warning.
Mark, are you talking about a flat screen? I would love to have a monitor that big for a computer.
I
Play
might need it.
my favorite game on it. On that. Wow, that would be great.
Could you imagine the simulator sickness that would cause?
I actually have my computer hooked up to using a 50-inch screen for a monitor. And this lets me, sit in my recliner about 6 feet back from the monitor.
Yeah, Y2K was overblown. A lot of people just didn't understand it.
Yeah,
But,
I figured it was a lot of paranoia and, the media hyped it.
No, it was absolutely legitimate for people who did not adjust their clocks so that the clock would recognize the year 2000.
Oh, yeah.
That was definitely going to fuck up files and some applications.
I realized
No
that,
doubt
yes.
about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was some validity to it. And, yeah, it could have screwed up the banking systems if they didn't address it. But, yeah, like the idea of planes falling out of the sky and that I thought was just exaggerating it.
I don't think so.
Or launch
Airlines
the
run on
nuclear
Windows.
codes.
No, it would not have done that.
Yeah, there was a lot of paranoia. It's just
All I know is that the only people that didn't have to worry about it were Macintosh owners because they thought about that years and years and years ago and then built their clocks so that it automatically took care of it.
I remember them worrying about the conveyor belts at grocery stores being Y2K compliant.
Yeah, that's what puzzled me was some of the things they're worried about. Although, like I say, it did show up some quirky problems.
Yeah, we've just generated
Because,
an odd
yeah.
quirk.
Well, some places were like, had to register things ahead of New Year's Eve. So, like in Pennsylvania, it was registering vehicles as being horseless carriages if they were registered with a date before 2019.
Yeah, that was basically it. Couldn't distinguish 1900 and 2000.
Yep. Okay, on a related note to the Y2K, can't we fucking go back to using a 2-digit year by now? Do we have to keep writing out the 4 digits for the entire 1,000 years now?
Yes.
Yeah, because there's a lot of
what?
places that hang on to records. So what? Big deal. You can't write 2 more digits?
Well,
I-
some of the documents still don't have space for it.
My problem with that is that my handwriting's large, generally. Not that, but I was gonna say on forms like if I handwrite them out like that, they're not expecting a date format.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have a problem with that too. That my handwriting is basically illegible anyway, and the smaller I try to write, the worse it gets.
I think there were like some problems with satellites, and I think someone got charged thousands of dollars in a late video fee because of some computer. And now no one knows what video stores are anymore.
Yeah, that's another relic that we've lost.
Well, unless they have bad internet. They still exist there.
There is still one Blockbuster store operating in Oregon. Apparently, the company needs to keep one actual store opening to protect their trademark or some bullshit like that.
And we had a chain called Family Video that used to be here that's gone now.
Oh, I remember
one
a
of them
family
is-
video here.
And one of them is a Dollar General that's like 3 blocks away from another Dollar General.
There used to be one called Video World around here.
You know, I believe if you say Dollar General 3 times, one appears.
Well, we have a store here called Cheapo Records, and they had also operated a video store for a long time through the 90s and the early 2000s. Yeah, so they were an independent one, and I love them. They didn't buy like 50 copies of the same new release, so they had a much larger selection.
Here, this is completely off the subject. I had this thought earlier today. I was just thinking and stuff. My mom would be 96 93 this year, if she was still alive. Well, whether she stayed alive or not, she still is 93. But we don't get to see her.
Actually,
That's
my
weird.
mother turned 95 this month,
To think
and
about
she
your
is still
parent,
alive.
to think about your parent being that old.
Yeah.
My grandmother died just after her 95th birthday.
Well, see, this is what makes me feel that I've got a much better than average chance of beating 100. Because 3 of my 4 grandparents on my mother's side, wound up being like well into their 90s before they died. And I've had a lot of advantages with better nutrition and better health coverage than they did.
Orla, I read your getting over thing. You can dominate me if you want. Would that make you feel better?
Strangely, Orla is one of the people I might trust to let her do that to me. There aren't many people I would trust for that. I'm very, very picky about that because it's like I had a wonderful mistress in my late fiance, and I will not tolerate abuse, so I would be very, very picky.
Yeah, Brian, I go to Dollar General too. I love their dollar aisle. They got these chocolate covered raisins, and of course for the size of the bag and the price and everything, it's not very big of a dose of raisins, but it's perfect. You buy those, you're not going to be eating too many of them. They taste just great, and they're only $1.
Yeah, the Dollar General is about the only place I can go to get potato skins.
I don't believe that.
What? Where?
What? Dollar General. Potato skins.
Skins?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, potato chips. They have like one side's
okay.
like a
All right,
skin,
all right.
and the other they're really good.
I don't believe chocolate covered raisins can be described as good. But at least they're not as evil as oatmeal raisin cookies.
Okay,
the best cookie on earth.
I like chocolate covered raisins. They're a candy I can still have.
How about raisin cookie? He's disguised as chocolate chip cookies.
Those are evil.
Okay, I will not have any of Nerdy's chocolate covered raisins for the same reason that I will. For the same reason that I will not eat black jelly beans because I don't trust what a bunny left.
Black jelly beans are just jelly beans that got stuck in the machine too long.
Yeah, because of inflation and they've had to raise their prices, I've now come to refer to Dollar Tree as the 5-quarter store. They've cranked everything up to $1.25 now.
Well,
Dollar Tree quarter bush.
Usually most of the black licorice I take now has alcohol combined with it.
I had an interesting experience. One of my favorite junk food meals is who's that? Stouffer's? Yeah, Stouffer's spaghetti and meat sauce. It
Really?
used to be like $3.75. You could get it 1 for, and then in the crisis it went up to $5.25 per, and it's actually gone down. It's now back again in only the $4 range, and it's like pretty nice.
Okay, I will admit to one of those as far as the like frozen things like that. The Encore riblet, the Encore riblet patties, which basically they're the things that you get when you get a McRib at McDonald's. That they're these preformed pork riblets and barbecue sauce. And yeah, those things will go on sale for like $3, and yeah, they're good. I mean, I know it's horrible. I know it's like nothing I should be eating and probably only vaguely resembles actual meat, but they taste good.
Yeah, I eat way too much junk food just because I don't have time to cook.
What makes me mad about lots of the frozen dinners, whatever brand it is, doesn't matter to me. They all play the same games. Is even when it's something okay, like pasta is dirt cheap. Okay, beans are dirt cheap. Um, when they have a dish that includes those kinds of things, that's what they scrimp on. The cheapest item in the package is what they give you not enough of. And it's like, damn, you fuckers.
Yeah, but most of those frozen dinners don't taste very good.
Some of them actually do. Boston Market has some spectacular frozen foods.
Yeah, Boston Market's good. I get those.
I don't know if I can find those around here.
Yeah, I agree with you though. Most of them I won't eat. There's just a few exceptions.
Yeah, I
like
can't get those here either pork. But I can get them back home in Milwaukee.
I don't like the Stouffer ones though.
Ugh. When I'm cheap, I get these Marie Calendar. Something like that. Their pot pies are like $1.50.
I like the pot pies.
Yeah, the Marie Calendar pot pies are good.
I'm sorry.
Especially if you get the bigger size ones, because then they've got a better ratio of their, stuffings to crust.
Yeah. Not sure if I'd get the anything else from Marie Calendar though.
I'm sorry, but anything with crust on it is not a pot pie. When Pennsylvania does something and the rest of the world is different, Pennsylvania is right.
I have
Pot
never
pie's
had
supposed
a
to have-
pot pie that didn't have crust.
It's supposed to have crust.
Go to a Pennsylvania Dutch restaurant in Pennsylvania Dutch country, order pot pie, and you will not get.
Well, Pennsylvania doesn't know what they're doing. Then that's all there is to it.
We've already explained that when Pennsylvania does something different than the rest of the world, Pennsylvania is right.
I mean, we are talking a state that almost voted in. What's his name?
There was never any chance of that happening.
Hey,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania still has the greatest story I've ever heard of why one vote can count.
Why what?
Why a single vote can count. There was a guy in 2016 that on the bottom of the ballot where all the judges were listed wrote in his own name. And it turned out there were more seats open than there were names listed on the ballots.
Oh,
so by his one vote, he became a county judge.
Oh my God. That would be a riot. Oh, I'd be a good judge. I just wouldn't know any court history and precedents and stuff like that. All the stuff that a lawyer goes to school to learn.
Yeah, the guy wasn't even a lawyer. He really had no qualifications, but he got the most votes, so they had to accept him.
Actually, I do remember someone just decided to ran for a position, just as a joke, said, "Hey, write in my name," and he got the position. So.
Well, when I lived in St. Paul, I actually considered running for city council, just because I was going to have so much fun with what would the reporters do with someone who didn't try to deny anything. Things like, does your partner know there's naked pictures of you on the internet? And I'd be like, who do you think took the pictures?
I've always wanted to run for office as a Republican and win, and then just go completely turncoat on them. And give out, not necessarily overtly, but covertly, and spill all the beans to the covert press and all that kind of stuff. Just fuck them over.
As a former journalist covering largely local issues, it's just not really that interesting. And after a while, you assume it's like, how is this politician lying to me?
Well, that's why I thought it would be so interesting to run for office and just not lie to the reporters. Just tell them flat out what actually happened and see what they make of it. Actually, I backed away from that because I realized there was a very slim possibility I could actually win, and then they'd expect me to do the job.
You do get paid for it in a city of that size, but
anytime I was voting and I didn't necessarily know the candidate, that happens. You don't know everything, and so I would just write in somebody else. And I always picked Frank Zeidler, who was Milwaukee's last socialist mayor.
Yeah, well, in Minnesota, there's usually a Green Party candidate listed. So if I don't specifically know either of the main party candidates, I'll go for that.
Oh, perp! There's some policy agencies. They examine governmental policies that come through and evaluate them and talk about them, explain them, and that kind of stuff. Not just for Minnesota, but nationally they do this. They rated at the end of the political year. They rate the various states and who did the best.
Yeah.
And Minnesota's on top this year.
Hmm.
Because their mark was that did the most for its citizens, as opposed to anything for politics or that.
Yeah,
Nice.
as far as finding out which politicians are actually going to do something useful, I have found the League of Women Voters to be one of the best resources for that.
Did Florida rank 51st?
Yeah, see, League of Women Voters, I always thought was just assessing, how good they were in bed. I was just kidding. I only thought about that just now. I don't really believe that.
Well, that's not any worse than a chat and AI telling me Aaron Ra was a creationist today.
I saw you post something about that in the group, but I didn't have time to read the thing. It looked kind of long.
Well, that bit was only short. It's like Sinister Porpoise follows well-known creationist Aaron Ra. It's like, wait, what?
Now I'm
Hey,
curious what it would come from.
Can I do a poll with our lovely I'm choking. With our lovely audience.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
Let's see, how many
Audience.
people do we have watching right now?
Oh, 5, 6.
Counting the candidate. Okay, I know that's not what he meant, but it's still kind of funny.
Well, StreamYard says we have 4 people in the audience, but I think there's actually more than that.
14?
No, 4.
4. Okay. All right, you 4 people. Marks, you can answer this if you want, but it doesn't apply to you technically. Oh, and Orla, it doesn't apply to you either. And Nerdy, you're in England too, aren't you?
Yep. Yeah, Nerdy's in the UK.
It doesn't apply to you either. I'll just drop the idea.
Well, no, you still got, the rest of us on the panel and Brian Stevens and Doc Fearsome. Of course, Doc Fearsome's in Iowa, so I don't know if he counts. Yeah, so despite it telling us that now it's saying we have 6 people watching.
I don't know
don't
why
think anyone else joined.
I don't know why you trust StreamYard's.
Well, remember,
Count.
you guys get counted in that too if you're logged in.
Yeah. No, I said that I don't trust StreamYard's count. It's a number there.
Okay, all right. I'll run the question. Maybe.
Yep.
It's not a policy question. It's a knowledge question. How many of you, if I just say the words 1921 Tulsa, Oklahoma, do you know what that means?
If you asked me 2 years ago, I wouldn't have.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Porp.
If you asked me 2 years ago, I wouldn't have.
Oh, okay.
Okay, waiting for people in the side chat.
Initially, I thought it had something to do with June 19th, because that's when I first learned of it.
Well, when you say Tulsa, that was my first connection, but that would have been much earlier.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, I only learned about this myself a couple of years ago. It was never taught in schools. And that's a truism for virtually the entire country, that people just don't know that this ever happened. It was buried so deep so quick, because it was a very embarrassing thing that happened. I forget which month it was. Tulsa, in those days, in the teens and 20s and stuff like that, there were lots and lots of cities where the black population had been very industriously created their own communities of very well-to-do businesses and business people that primarily served their own neighborhood of customers and stuff. There was actual family wealth that was going on. A lot of the towns or sections of towns that were black entrepreneurial areas were called Bronzeville, that kind of thing. And Tulsa had one of those going, and it was just wonderfully successful, and people admired it. Well, people not in Tulsa though. In 1921, for what reason I never really have heard it happened, hundreds of white people got together and went in and did their best to wipe out the entire black population and burn every building that they had.
Yep.
And it was just like, holy fuck! How could we go through life and not that we were not taught that in school? You know, so I investigated a little further, and Greg, you whipped out that map, didn't you? There's been those kinds of nasty, horrible, racist incidents all around the country over the centuries. It's so disgraceful, and it just makes me mad that people don't know about it, and then these people are complaining, oh, why do we have to Black History Month? Well, because you don't know anything about Black history, you idiot. And this is your chance to learn something.
Well, it pissed me off that I didn't know anything about June 19th until I was in an interracial relationship.
Juneteenth Day?
Yeah. It's like, why the fuck didn't they ever tell us about that in school?
I remember in school they used to do a thing where they have Black history, but only the black students could attend it.
Yeah, I think we may have had maybe 2 black schools or 2 black students in our school, and they were brother and sister.
Herb, when you and I were in school, I don't think that they taught anybody Juneteenth, because I don't think anybody even knew what Juneteenth was.
Yeah.
It was another one of those things that black population knew about that we knew nothing, because we got a racist country on our hands.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's like, why wasn't that better known?
You can't cover every atrocity and every terrible thing that happened, but you can cover the important ones.
Yep.
Like, I didn't know that the Pennsylvania bought its land, which has its own problems, but I didn't know, like, the land, like, where my ancestors settled was originally, like, the Susquehanna tribe, which were wiped out by the Iroquois, but the Iroquois wiped them out at the behest of the English.
Yep.
Well, the whole nation belonged to Indian tribes before we ever got here.
Yeah,
we stole all of it from them.
The whole thing about Indians scalping settlers, the Indians never did that before Europeans came here. The reason the Indians started scalping English settlers is because the French gave them a bounty for killing the English, but they had to prove how many kills they had.
Pennsylvania has a slightly different history there than most of the U.S. states, but it's not necessarily any better. It's just there's less violence over it.
Before the Europeans got here, North America had better than 20 different Native American, North America, Native American tribes, organizations. They spread like the ones around here went from all the way from Minnesota, Wisconsin, all the way to New York. It was large areas that those tribes existed in, and considered not their possession, but their borders, which didn't have any fencing or actual borders, but
Actually, those were large groups of tribal alliances because there actually were more than 500 separate tribes.
Mark, no, I never heard anything that religion was related to it in any way.
I would say it was, but it was in Oklahoma in the 1920s. So religion may not have played a major role, but I'm guessing like the KKK was probably considered to be a civic organization, and they probably thought they were doing a good thing.
Yeah, there probably was some element of racial purity in there that we don't want these people mingling with our children type thing.
Well, I don't know. I have not learned that anything specific that way about Tulsa. As far as why did it happen?
Yeah, I only know the few basics. I really haven't read into that one.
And people there didn't even know about it.
Well,
they hid it from their own fucking citizens.
Okay, Juneteenth. Tomorrow, federal offices will be closed. It is now recognized as a federal holiday, but that did not happen until Biden signed it last year. So, commemorating something that happened in 1865 got approved to be a federal holiday in 2022.
The Black community did not celebrate Juneteenth for a long time. I think you can go and ask anybody who knows their history, and they'll tell you the same thing. It only came into existence as a celebratory happening within our lifetimes.
Well, okay, actually they did for a while, but then during the Depression it kind of fell away and then it got brought back.
I've known about Juneteenth, gosh, well, it wasn't a formal thing taught, but it was certainly mentioned and discussed in the schools that I went to. But we got a fairly good Black population in those schools, so of course it would be dealt with on some level.
I did actually make a video on it a couple of years ago. If people want to look up in my playlist of the edited videos on my channel, and put up with the crappy microphone I had at the time because the sound is horrible.
But
I'm also real mad at our society, and Greg has probably read my little screed that I uploaded. There are so many Black professionals, scientists that we know nothing about, who made major contributions to scientific knowledge and our country and affected the whole world. And you never, ever, ever hear about them. Not a word.
Yeah.
And it's geez, and so this, I think not knowing those things encourages the continuance of racism, especially when it comes to the white people who are not insane, okay?
Mm-hmm.
who don't necessarily hate Black people, but they don't necessarily are a social justice warrior or something like that. But just, mom and dad, common America, that if they knew about some of these things, I think it would make them become more wanting to celebrate our Black citizens and their contribution.
Yeah,
and then that, because the more of the population that is active about it, the more and more that punches down the racism and the hatred and stuff.
Well, the contributions that Black people have made in general. I mean, yes, there are a lot of scientists and inventors who've gotten shortchanged and don't get recognized in the history books. But also things like we probably wouldn't have the Transcontinental Railroad without the Black railroad workers.
And the Chinese.
Well, basically the Chinese started on one coast, the Blacks started on the other coast, and they met in the middle.
Well,
I know that's oversimplified, but that's kind of what happened.
I mean, that depends on how middle you consider Utah. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, like I said,
well-
it's oversimplified.
Yeah, the East Coasters got farther west than the West Coasters got east, but the East Coaster did not have to go through the fucking Rocky Mountains.
Yep.
And cut all those tunnels by hand. So Utah, they did pretty damn good.
Yeah. Well, and there also were a lot of Irish railroad workers because at the time, the Irish were considered to be barely above the blacks.
Uh-huh.
I have a book here that's about the status of immigrants in society. And even Ben Franklin was complaining about the German-speaking immigrants to Pennsylvania. And the German-speaking immigrants started publishing his articles then side by side in English and German and just started mocking him in their own
Okay.
publications.
See, that
I
didn't,
would
that
be
didn't happen.
interested.
Go ahead, Perp. I'm sorry.
I would be interested in that just
Mhm.
because Ben Franklin is my favorite of the founding fathers. So I'd like to see more on that if you could send me something in Twitter.
It's a book. Couldn't.
And
send
if
it
you're a
very
mega,
easily.
you think Ben Franklin was your favorite president.
Well, if you
Um,
can send me the book's title and author, I can look it up.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
If you look at the book.
No, I forgot what he's going to say. Oh well, such is life.
That's okay. Athena's
Yeah.
ignoring me.
Well, I don't
Wait.
know how he felt about the Germans, but Ben Franklin was actually extremely progressive for his time. One of his most unpopular takes was stating that women could be as intelligent as men if they were given equal access to schooling. That did not go over well in the 1700s.
Well, a lot of the early computer scientists were women too. And who do we give credit for founding computer science?
It
Not
does.
that
It
Alan Turing
doesn't.
wasn't important, but sorry. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
It doesn't go over very well today either. Perp.
And-
None of that German discrimination happened where I grew up in Milwaukee because it was the most German city on the continent. We had several German language newspapers. Most of the residents were German. The parks had German names, and German was spoken on the streets. It was a very German place, and that didn't stop until World War I was a problem. People were bigots
Yeah.
against the Germans then.
Yeah,
And World War II really splattered it down and pretty much ended it. It was sad.
That's
But
probably
some of the buildings that they built, that with that German influence in architecture and things, wow! There's a couple buildings in Milwaukee that are just unbelievably cool.
World War I and World War II are probably why I don't speak Pennsylvania Dutch. But this was in the 1750s when the Pennsylvania Dutch were settling in essentially what is now Lancaster County and the surrounding areas.
Yeah, where I grew up in the 70s, Germans weren't very popular because it was like 85% Jewish, and some of my neighbors still had the serial numbers burned into their arms.
Hi, Jen. How
Oh.
you doing?
I can see how that would make them unpopular.
Well, we had a large Jewish population.
Yep.
In fact, my parents moved into a Jewish neighborhood when I was just getting out of high school, and I got to know numerous families.
Yeah.
Living next door, living across the street, and all this. I even met some of their grandparents who had their tattooed numbers still on them.
Why is my
Yeah, well,
maybe on my end?
that is a huge part of why I left the Catholic Church. That as a Catholic family, we were a minority. And when as a teenager I decided to read the Bible, 4 out of the 5 people I discussed it with had read it in Hebrew and were thrilled to point out all the translation errors.
I had my most favorite Jewish woman I met. Her name was oh my God, I just blanked. I've known her for years. Maureen Brodson. That's it, Brodson. I can't want to say something else, Ballman or something. Anyways, Brodson. She was like one of the very first people who jumped on the bandwagon to support me when I transitioned. And she even went so far as to solicit members of her what do they call a church in temple?
Yeah, the temple or the synagogue.
To donate clothes that I could have. And she showed up with a couple of bags of clothes. Here you go, free. And
Cool.
This is all North Shore, Milwaukee, which is a very, very wealthy part of town. And so they're all really nice stuff. She was great.
Yeah, like I say, we were like the poor family in the neighborhood, so a lot of the stuff we got was like secondhand from neighbors. Hey, Jen, I'm sorry that you're under the weather there. Yeah, I am still having lingering symptoms from the COVID, but the doctor has assured me that I should not be contagious anymore.
I am surprised I seemingly have not have gotten COVID.
Same here.
Oh, well, this is my third time, so I guess I've taken it for the two of you.
So any of you supporting RFK Jr.?
No,
No.
Good. I hope not.
nor do I support Joe Rogan for anything other than, I don't know, being buried 6 foot under at this point.
Joe Rogan. Where does that come from?
Joe Rogan interviewed RFK for 3 hours to spread his conspiracy theory nonsense.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah,
That makes sense.
he's a conspiracy buff. Absolutely.
Yeah, I saw some stuff on Twitter about Joe Rogan having him on.
I mean, it doesn't have to be 6 feet under. It could also be like under a bridge.
Well, I wonder if they, since it was radio, not television, I wonder if they practiced giving themselves a blowjob. That's a Rogan thing,
Well, I'm still getting over the COVID. Like I said, I've got lingering symptoms. And unfortunately, today I went and picked up Sloth Girl's son, which worries me because every time I've had COVID, it was the week after he was here. So I have come to the conclusion that he never gets it, but he's always a non-symptomatic carrier.
I don't think that works. Well, I don't think you're a permanent carrier of COVID, but how old is Sloth Girl's son?
23 or 24.
All right, so he shouldn't be in like a school, which tend to be like germ factories, but
Yeah, but he lives in a house with a child, so. Not his child, he just lives with a friend who has a child.
I know in a couple months here I'm going to get my COVID vaccine again.
Well, I have gotten 4 shots, which is as many vaccines as they will let me have, and I still got it anyway. But at least it was enough that when I got it, I didn't wind up in the hospital.
And I was going to say, the worst thing I came down with this year was a stomach bug that was going around. Like right before Christmas. That made me feel great. Because I had to call off that day from work, which, calling off like the day before holiday always makes you look good.
Okay, Jenna, a PET scan, is that like a broader spectrum one that picks up
Yeah, that was
dogs
just
as
a
well as
stomach
cats?
bug. I remember coming, and Purple is talking, and my mic is out again.
Nope, I hear you.
Earphones.
I hear you. Our timing was off. Your mic was working, Porpoise.
No, my mic was fine. My earphones weren't.
Oh, okay.
Because my earphones keep cutting in and out, and it's kind of weird.
Yeah, Doc, considering your job, I find that amazing that you have never caught it.
Well, some people are going to be naturally immune.
Yeah, well, Doc works at a hotel checking in people who come in from other states.
Well, I'm sure he gets all kinds of bugs.
Doc's a vector, that's for sure.
I suppose it's always possible I had it and just had an asymptomatic case.
Like if I were to go to Gen Con this year, which I never do just because It's full of people, some of whom don't shower.
Yeah.
I
A
would probably
PET
pick
scan done by a gynecologist. I don't get it.
Yeah, I had 2 gaming conventions I used to do every year. Those were the social highlights of my year. But ever since the pandemic, I still don't know if it's safe to go back to the gaming conventions because, yeah, the idea of cramming in like 700 people from different states to do a few convention rooms, not so appealing as it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although on the other hand, I do miss it because I've got a bunch of games I don't play just because I can't get enough people together. Ironically, one of them is that right after we moved here, I bought a copy of the board game Pandemic. And because we then had a pandemic, I have never been able to get enough people in the same room together to open it.
Well, pandemic is about curing a pandemic.
Yeah, but I've never been able to get enough people in the same room to actually play it now.
But I don't know. My social circles aren't that large, and I'm not usually the person that can bring people in. So I have board games like I've had to get rid of, like the Battlestar Galactica one.
Well, see, that was the thing is I had a lot of board games that I knew I could only play when I took them to the conventions. So since I'm not doing the conventions, I've got a lot of games that I just haven't been able to play since 2019. It kind of sucks because I'm not usually a social person, but you know, it was one thing I could get hyped about. And
Did you all catch that UFO story that was on like a week or so ago?
Which
Of
one?
some family in California who
Oh.
says they saw some aliens. They were 8 or 9 feet tall, and
Oh yeah, I heard about that
but
one.
coincidentally, there was something in the sky that came down that was green as it came down, and people got it on tape. You know, surreptitiously they weren't shooting that, but there it was, and the police saw the thing that was coming down green themselves, so it was like it was legitimate. And so the cops go, respond to the call from the family and go there, and there was nothing to show. There's just nothing, no evidence of anything. Well, now they're setting up 24-hour cameras in that area to see if they'll
yeah,
return.
I was watching Bumblebee just did that, or Bumblebee just did that on Cryptic Corner, Hive Science. So yeah, I was just watching the footage of that. Yeah, there was something coming down, and I don't know. My first guess had been a meteor, but they never said actually where it had come down. Some people were saying it was just like, somebody had shot down a drone.
I want to get a drone so bad.
Yeah, but the footage of where the people said that they had, actually spotted these huge aliens was so out of focus. You couldn't see anything.
I think Colorado was considering a drone hunting season. And someone's listening to TV in the background, it sounds like.
I think that Jenny has a TV or radio on in the background.
Yep, I do, and I'm not going to turn it off. I'll turn it down a little bit, though, for you.
Yeah, it hasn't been that distracting.
Yeah, no, it hasn't really been a problem. Oh. Okay.
Oh, no. In Minneapolis yesterday, apparently some driver was driving way too fucking fast, freeway speeds on the city streets, and lost control and took out 5 people.
Oh,
Shit.
Speaking of which, with the eclipse that's coming up
In 2024?
Do you guys want me to give you chats, give you locations in the town you mentioned that I may know something about? That are good
Actually,
places to
I
eat.
looked at that and the line that's coming up. I should be able to get a place in Illinois, more northern Illinois or Indiana to watch it, which will be a lot closer than the end of the lower tip of Illinois.
Okay, yeah, I know that Lavender Lady was saying she'd like to make a trip to southern Illinois to see it. Oh damn it! What was the town? What was the town? She said
Carbondale.
Carbondale. Thank you. I kept thinking Cambridge, and that
Those people are
that's where I
so
drove
lucky.
today.
The 2017 eclipse went right over Carbondale. Carbondale was like the place that was in the middle, the middle of how long, the longest period of time that it'll be eclipsed, and the best location for watching it. And Carbondale nailed it in 17 that way. And they're gonna do it again in 2024.
If you do it where I'm suggesting, you can visit the Eugene V. Debs Museum also.
No, I wouldn't be doing that. I'm going to have enough problems just getting down there at this point with my car issues.
Although I get to see the Eugene V. Debs Museum every time I'm on campus.
Well, you can take pictures and post them.
I have. That's not.
What is that? What is that museum dedicated to?
Eugene V. Debs.
I'm sorry, that name does not mean anything to me.
Then that might be a part of labor history you might want to look up. He also ran for president from prison.
Two times, wasn't it?
No idea.
Well, Jen, I can't claim a museum, although I would have loved to if I ever had the opportunity. The closest I ever got to that was doing the librarian in the public library.
And why did I just read Doc Fearsom's live chat message as the Baby Shark song? Please don't.
Yeah.
Are you trying to start another apocalypse?
My brain sensibly rejects the Baby Shark song at the best of times.
Yes. Oh, I had one time I was waiting at the pharmacy and somebody was in there with their 4-year-old who had a tablet and was playing Baby Shark on endless loop for half an hour.
They're two-headed what?
What? Two-headed? What? Who said about a two-headed thing?
Well, that's what it sounded like you said.
No. This kid was playing the Baby Shark thing on a tablet.
Oh.
That was on just repeat for half an hour of Baby Shark while I was waiting for my prescription to get filled.
Yeah, I would much rather see a two-headed anything. Oh man.
Let's see here.
Baby shark, do-do-do-do-do-do, baby shark, do-do-do-do-do,
Please don't.
baby shark, do-do-do-do-do-do, baby shark.
I think we need a palate cleanser after that.
We
Okay,
will send Bruce after you.
I found videos of an hour long of Baby Shark.
I'm sure you can find 10-hour-long videos. Please don't.
I guess the people who wrote that really capitalized on it. And they put out Baby Shark coloring books and little play toys for kids and all that shit. They fucking probably made $1 million.
There it is, 10 hours of Baby Shark.
Yep, and Mark Caesar, you are correct. There is actually nothing in U.S. law that would prohibit Trump from running while in prison.
Except if he gets convicted of that law he signed. That's the only thing that will prevent him.
Yeah, we're not going there. We don't even mention those puppets.
I can't believe that he. Well, I can believe it, but just the fact that he keeps losing lawyers, that they keep walking out on him. You know, I'm out of here.
Well,
Well,
he doesn't pay them, and he won't listen to them.
well, the biggest thing is his lawyers keep telling him not to get on Twitter and make public statements, and he keeps doing it.
You know, even the judge in his like fraud case in New York had to give him a lesson on how not to post. What was it? Evidence or
Yeah. Well, one of
Stop
his
incriminating
lawyers
yourself.
One of his lawyers is now in a very awkward situation about the documents at Mar-a-Lago because he prepared the statement that said they had returned all the documents. So the lawyer is now in the position that the committee is, or the investigation committee is saying that either you admit that Trump lied to you or you lied to us. Those are your choices. So are you going to take the fall for this, or are you going to throw him under the bus?
I wouldn't risk my career for that motherfucker.
Nice
Did
knowing
you hear what he
Trump.
did? Did you hear what he did to that restaurant in Jersey?
oh yeah,
After the hearings and stuff like that, he went over to this, you know, his entourage went over to this it was an Italian or restaurant or a Greek or so, I don't know, it doesn't matter. And he, they, you know, the crowd, the entourage fills up this little mom and pop restaurant, and you know, of course, everybody's excited. The president, and he said, "Every food for everybody. I'll pay for it." And he walked out after everybody had been served.
Okay, I had heard the thing about him saying he was going to pay for everyone. I didn't understand how that all happened.
Yeah, he walked out. It's another. He's not going to pay the bill. What a motherfucker! He's just God. He's so goddamn subhuman. How can anybody live like that and be that way for their entire fucking lives?
I think Jenny has just come up with the best possible Democrat campaign ad. It's just Samuel L. Jackson, like the Pulp Fiction pose, with Trump quotes, and Samuel Jackson is going, "Lie to me one more time."
Oh, jeez.
I might actually be able to make something like that.
Oh, we had another little mass shooting. Only 2 people this time, at a campground near the Gorge Amphitheater in Washington.
Well, if it was less than 4 people, it doesn't count as a mass shooting.
Actually, it depends on who's counting.
Well, the last thing I saw, that was keeping statistics that a mass shooting had to involve at least 4 people being killed or injured.
And some people break it down that if it's during the commission of a drug deal, it does or doesn't count. Or some people say if it's during a drug deal, it does count. And so there's just, everybody counts them in a different way. And so everybody has all these different statistics, and it just works against us because everybody's, you can't even decide how many people were hurt. Well, yeah, there's all these dead people here.
Well, speaking of statistics, I think there's a 100% chance there's a cat that wants to attack my feet behind me.
Damn it! I think Biden should arrange a drag show in the White House,
followed by a drag queen story hour.
Well, yeah, they could definitely do that as part of it.
Okay, we've had a couple of things here about people who have run for office from prison, and a couple of them that won. Although I still think the best story was from Nevada, where they elected a dead pimp. That the guy was known for owning 3 brothels, and he died like 2 months before the election, but the ballots had already been printed, so his name appeared on them, and he won.
What office?
I think it was a state senator or something like that. It was a fairly high office.
Well,
Jesus.
prostitution. Sorry. Prostitution is legal in Nevada, so I don't know
Yeah.
if the guy would classify it as a pimp, except on a technicality.
Yeah, he's just a
Yeah,
shop.
it just
shop
sounds
owner.
better that way. But, the guy had been dead for a couple of months before the election, and he still won. So, he wasn't like out making speeches or campaign appearances.
Well, if you had your choice of some really horrible, rotten politician and some pimp, who would you pick? I'm
Well,
going for the pimp.
I'm all for promoting the sex workers as legitimate trades. So,
Hi, Athena.
I mean, fuck, I'd probably do it if I thought anybody'd pay me for it.
Do you want to be a part of the panel?
I don't know if I could actually be a prostitute, because, like,
Oh my God, it's going up to 121 today in Kingsville, Texas.
It's actually going to be lower today here.
kitty cam.
That's because of actually getting rain.
My God,
Yeah.
120 in our country.
The rain keeps missing us. We were supposed to have rain 2 days this week, and both times it went by without giving us anything. And you can tell because, just outside my window, the grass is dying. We need it.
Yeah, I was starting to get that here. I think Molly has an anxiety disorder, which doesn't not that surprising. She keeps wanting to chew and suck on her back leg.
Yeah, that is a common anxiety thing for dogs. I don't get it why they like chew or suck on their own foot.
Yes, they should be more like cats and attack your feet.
I heard some about that. I can't imagine it accounts for all the cases of it, but in a lot of dogs, they start licking and chewing and stuff on their feet because of an allergy.
Yeah, it can be,
and that it itches down there.
yeah, it can be. I ruled that out though because I found she'll stop if I give her a chew toy.
Well, does she have chew?
Oh yeah, she's got chew toys. I just occasionally don't always have one on hand when she starts doing it. I'll have to remember to start keeping one nearby.
Well, Mark, I'm sure that's better than having a mining town that's been on fire since the 1960s.
Well, owning a brothel would give somebody running for office a great campaign. He could be very open about it, that elect me and get fucked.
It's a good slogan.
Yeah, what's that? The Pennsylvania coal mine that's been on fire for how long?
Well, coal fires are notorious to put out once they go underground, but notoriously difficult. But Centralia has been on fire since the 1960s, but that's more of a tale of human stupidity.
Yep. I knew I'd write about that one. I just couldn't remember what year it had started.
They were burning fire in a trash dump.
So a literal dumpster fire.
A cop from Park Ridge something or other. It doesn't say state. Why don't they say state when they're talking about these kinds of things? What has happened? Well, where? I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, some cop is a hero today because yesterday or day before, I don't know, whatever, ran between two cars and pulled this child out from between them as the one backed into the other one.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
And they have it on tape.
Ooh, nice.
I almost lost my legs that way once.
Well,
There was a car backing up, and I was just quick enough to roll up onto the hood of the car behind it as it hit.
Mm.
If I hadn't managed to get myself completely up on the hood, I would have had both of my legs crushed.
And I'm so glad the only car accident I had was with a car ran into me on a bicycle. I got lucky on that one. Nothing more than some severe bruises for a while.
Hey guys, I'll be right back in a bit.
Yeah, I've never been in a really serious car accident. They were all fairly minor.
Let's see here.
Of course, you were saying about the mines where I lived in Michigan. Most of the county had been hollowed out for the iron mines. So it was not unusual for just like sudden sinkholes to develop and, take out a chunk of the street and suck up 4 or 5 cars.
Yeah, there were a couple, like in the anthracite coal regions of Pennsylvania, that happens quite a bit too.
Police detective saves life of unresponsive infant. Georgia officer
Okay.
saves choking baby.
Well, I appreciate you all being here,
Hmm.
but I did say I was probably only going to stay until I finished eating. It's almost 7:30. So I should make another attempt to lay down and see if I could get a couple hours sleep.
Well, I
All
hope
right.
we've managed to help you with the anxiety.
And
Well, you helped me get through it. It feels not as bad as it was a few hours ago.
Good.
So, that's what I mean. I appreciate all of you being here. I'm actually surprised by how many people we got turning up in the side chat.
Yeah.
I mean, we got about as much of an audience as we did for one of my regular shows here.
Most of us aren't usually even up at this hour.
Well, half of the side chat was Australians.
That explains it.
normally I would be up at this hour during my
Yeah.
work here, but
Well, that's why I had originally done my first show at midnight, because originally I had a group of Australians who were regulars, but they kind of drifted away.
I broke my hook of hamate in a scooter accident once. And the only reason I bring that up is because I like saying hook of hamate at this point. It's a bone I never knew existed before that.
Yeah, I've had very few broken bones in my life. And probably the first bone I broke was a finger that I broke in a scooter accident.
It took a long time to heal, though, but well, get some sleep. I mean, this was just about the time I normally wake up anyway and go back to sleep this time of year. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 7:30 in the morning my local time. So, usually once the sun comes up, between 6 and 7 is usually when I can fall asleep again.
because my body's been trained to wake up at 5:30.
Yeah, but again, then I usually only sleep for 2 or 3 hours, and then I'm awake again and hope I can fall back to sleep for some more.
And we've been on for almost 2 hours anyway.
Oh, yeah, we have. Okay, well, thank you all for coming. Does anybody have any final words? Anything they want to plug before we go?
Well, I got the 29th. I'm planning a live stream on my garden channel for a 1-year anniversary.
Cool. You've been doing that for a year now, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had just watched your thing with the soil test this morning.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure what I'll probably just do just kind of a let people in and just chit chat kind of thing.
Okay.
Not sure what time I'll be doing it though.
Okay, well, if I'm awake when you do it, I'll be there.
So,
But of course, for me, I can never predict a day ahead of time what hours I'll be awake. So, yeah, Mark is saying that for your soil test, you should pre-mix the barcode and water.
yeah, actually, I read your comment on that, and I actually plan to redo it for like an end of year video.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was impressed that you did that, just with common household stuff that didn't require some kind of like pH test kit. I thought you were going to go that way.
Yeah, I'm not the first one to do this test, but it's
Yeah,
something I
well,
had in the back of my head for a while.
yeah, it's not a precision test, but it gives you a good approximate range.
Yeah.
Okay, well, with that, I'm sorry I don't even have the list up to thank all my supporters and Patreon people and such.
Let's see, Diana, Kitty, who else?
Well, Greg Hartwick, who
Greg Hartwick.
was in here. Von Rick, Skits Crasher is my biggest supporter. So
And
I know
everybody
I'm-
else we're forgetting.
I know I'm missing a couple of people, and I am sorry, but not much sleep. My brain is not operating all that well.
Yeah.
But with that, then thank you all for being here, and we will see you on Wednesday.
Yes, follow the lead of Athena here.
Yep. Bye bye,
Except-
all.
Later.
Except don't sleep on my computer desktop.